Alright, so let us begin our discussion with the topic planning, which is the second step in the project management lifecycle stages. So the word planning in itself explains why it is important. Now, needless to say that planning is the most essential aspect of any human endeavor. You may have heard the famous saying called failing to plan is planning to fail. So if you don't plan properly, regardless of whatever that is, you are definitely setting your path towards fail. So similarly, in project management, planning is considered as the most important chapter. So we will talk about planning in detail. So we will spend 2 weeks talking about planning. So this week's discussion will be largely based on the theories of planning. We'll talk about the benefits of planning, we will talk about the activities that are involved in planning, and we will refer to some of the tools of planning as well. In the following week, we will try to use some of those tools in a more hands-on approach from which we can able to understand that how to plan in real, not just in theoretical sense. So before we start diving into the benefits and the actual work stream of planning, probably first it's ideal to understand a definition of planning. So a very common definition of planning is project planning is a discipline for stating how to complete a project within a certain time frame, and usually with defined stages and with designated resources. So there are a few things that are stand out from this definition, and these are time frame, resources, and the designated tasks. So these are the core aspects of project planning. So when it comes to project planning, we first need to understand that why planning is so important, right? Now, if you recall back our discussion, probably in the very first week, I gave the analogy and I was asking one of you who was probably a civil engineer, and I asked that before we construct a building, what do we do generally? Do we just go to the site and start to put all the bricks and concrete and the irons and everything immediately? We don't do that. What we do, or what the engineers do, first they do a soil testing and they look into myriad of other factors about the ground, so it's important to set the ground. They need to look into the ground, whether this ground or the soil will be able to hold that building or not. And that even starts way before, and an architecture will start mapping out the blueprint of the building. So we did that, and that was, we may compare that while we were doing the initiation stage when we wrote the project charter. So that would be probably the soil testing and other specification that the engineers would know. But when it comes to planning, now we may be able to compare this with an architecture who does the design of the building. So an architecture would probably give you a design of the whole building, and that design will help you to visualize how this finished building would look like. So that's what planning is. Now I may give you another nice example. A lot of you are familiar with the toy Lego, right? You may have your family member, or you may have seen other kids playing with Lego. So kids play with Lego. So Lego is a very popular toy in the Western world. I'm pretty sure it's similar in Bangladesh as well. Kids love Lego. Now, what is so special about Lego? If you imagine how the toy is being constructed, there's thousands of different pieces for a single piece of toy. Let's say maybe it's a car, or maybe it's a toy house, or whatever that is. In order to construct that car or that house or whatever that is, a kid need to spend hours together to put up all of those hundreds and thousands of small pieces together. Now, generally, kids would not have that much of patience, right? because they'll get bored. But the beautiful thing about the game Lego is that it provides some nice flashy images on the top of the package, and that attracts the kids so much. And I can refer to the example of my daughter as well. She's 6 years old and she loves Lego. And the reason kids they get attracted to toys like Lego is that they get totally carried away by what's on the outside, like the finished product, the ultimate vision. When they see like that such nice dollhouse or car or helicopter or robot, whatever that is, they just really get so attracted, and then they start to build that by spending hours. And Lego also comes with a manual as well, through which they detail every aspect of the fragmented like toy, and that makes it possible. So the reason I use this analogy is that project planning is pretty much those document like the manual of the Lego. Without that manual of Lego, it will be next to impossible for a kid to put it all together, unless they're like hyper creative, but in most cases it's gonna be very difficult. So similarly, your project management document, a project planning document is like that manual which will guide your action. And in your planning, you should be able to give that glimpse or visualization of the finished project, what it is going to be and what is the yield or what is the end result of this project is going to be. Similarly, for the kid who can see the image of the Lego on top of the package, which then they get attracted. So your stakeholders should also be attracted towards your project, understanding the key benefits that your project would have. So for that reason, project planning is very important. So project planning, the end result of project planning is a comprehensive document, which is the project plan. And towards our discussion of project planning, you'll be able to learn how to create a project planning document. And we have told you before that project management is all about documentation. So here we are, another document which is project plan, and that's the end result of project planning.